Hey everyone, today I want to share my pregnancy part of my twins. Um, so back in 2015, um, obviously my wife became pregnant with twins. And, like anyone, there's, you know, just don't get pregnant that one time and have a baby and everything's just perfect, right? So we had been, trying to, time things, and my wife had, we were just at that point, I'm in my 40s and she's in her late 30s, and so you kind of, okay, we're going to try fertility, and we'd lost, she had a miscarriage the year before, um, and so now, the thought was, okay, we're kind of, we're back on track. Nothing's happening, and she was going to go home to the Philippines, and so she was going to leave on Wednesday, and um, that weekend, she just or not, she, like supposed to have a period, and um, that Wednesday, Thursday, whatever came, and nothing happened. And she thought, well, it was weird, I mean, some people are just they're just on time, and it's like, well, that's a little weird, and so um, we just, it was like a joke, like that. I might be pregnant, ha ha ha, nah, and so we, um, I think we had one or a test left from the year before, because when you're going through that, you'll do 100 tests to say you're pregnant, and so got that out, and it was that case of supposed to be two lines, and it's like one line, and fading in and out on you. Come on, like that car, turn over. And believe it or not, as stupid as this sounds, I had bought a box of stuff, on auction, and one of the things that I had gotten was a box of these pregnancy strips, right? These the El Cheapo things that um, it's just this little bitty flat paper strip and the thing on the end, and I had it in my car. I kid you, had this like 200 of them, and I had them in the back seat. I had several things in the back seat of my car. I always have stuff like that. And we tried two of them, and neither one of them gave a good answer. And I was like, man, I said, you know what? Let me just. So I went out and got this thing, and this thing lit up and said pregnant, right? It said positive. There was no misreading, nothing, right? The ones you pay $10 a piece for, they were like, go get another one. Yeah, you ain't spent enough yet. This one here is like, dude, give me my 2 cents, I'm out. And so it's like, okay, and they say that the best thing is do it on the built up urine from overnight. So the next morning, when she got up, she had to pee. Um, hold on here. So the next morning, when she got up to pee, uh, I had went to the store and gotten one. Of course, we all make 10 trips to the store just to verify it, And so she peed, and we put in the El Cheapo, and that El Cheapo said ding 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 ding, winner winner, and the other one still said a little. It was like three quarters yes, not a complete yes, but three quarters yes. So we're like, okay, and so it was that time. She was going to go back home to the Philippines, and she had paid to go to some beach, with her friend, and they were going to relax and enjoy their, and so you have a few drinks, and um, you get to visit your friends, and everybody likes to have a couple drinks and relax. And so she goes to the doctor. I think it was on the Tuesday, and the doctor says, "Guess what? You're pregnant." Okay. So we'll see you in a month. Okay. So she went. So she goes home and she comes back, a couple weeks later, and I'll never forget. She's coming down the escalator at Cincinnati, and I'm, not paying attention too much. She's coming down, okay, and she starts coming down, and it's like, yeah, she had a belly, and it's like, man, that ain't right. That's just 2 months. That's not right. And so, we get her bag and we get in the car and we're going home and and we're like, yeah, that's um, you skip because sometimes people, some women, um, they just never show that their body doesn't register that they're pregnant. And so they continue doing everything that they do until one day, there's like, man, what's this pain right here, And so we're on the way home, and and we're talking about it because it's like, okay, she obviously, as most women, she wanted to have a child, and I was, okay, so hey, guess what, we're gonna have a child, and um, we're sitting there, and it's like, this just don't make sense. I mean, are you like 3 months pregnant, or are you like 6 months pregnant? Because we're doing the math. We're like, well, I guess we'll have a baby in October, November, wherever you are, because you don't know exactly yet. And Joe was like, well, you could be 5, 6 months pregnant, or yeah. I mean, maybe there's two of them in there, or more than one, And well, guess what? There was more than one. We go to the doctor, and the doctor comes in, and checks all her stuff. Okay, we're going to have the first ultrasound done, and this lady comes in, and she's older, and she goes, "Oh, I've been doing this for years." And I'm sitting there, and I'm the supportive husband. Luckily there's no pain, and um, she she couldn't get her reading through the skin, so she had to use the one and insert it. And she's looking around. I'm looking at the screen, and I'm just looking at this thing, and because it ain't nothing but like a little grain of rice. It's just because it's just that small, and I'm looking at this thing, and she's just going over all this stuff, hitting all these measurements and all. I mean, it's like, you know, like a, like somebody special on that typewriter, buddy. She's just going to town, ding, 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 and I mean, like 30, 45 minutes, and I'm looking I kid you not, the whole time I'm just, I mean, I'm not looking, because she's down, on the other side, and I'm looking at that screen, and she's showing me that little grain of rice. I can see what she's trying to measure and all this stuff, and I'm just looking at that screen, and I'm like, that looks like another grain of rice over there, but she ain't said nothing. Now obviously, I know this much about ultrasounds, and that's because we was in there. Other than that, nope, nope, don't. I mean, whatever. She just kept hitting the thing, and boop, boop, and the machine went through the systems, and we're going in, and I'm just looking like, is she not seeing that thing? Is it because I'm convinced that it's not, because she ain't said nothing. You'd have think she'd have said, "Hey, we got two of them, but we're going to start with this one." Nope, she just went. I mean, she's looking at that screen, and she sees that other, because they're kind of distinct. And she goes through this thing, and I'm just like, okay, I guess it's just one then. Maybe, I'm going to skate by on this one. It's just one. And this lady looks up, and it's like this, okay, and she looks over, she goes, "Oh my God, there's another one there." And it's kind of like, I mean, she went through this whole thing. And I said, oh, it's just one, there's not two, it's just one. Okay, and I'm like, you don't, you should have been able to, I looked at that screen in like 10 seconds and said, I think that's twins. I think there's two of them. And it kind of looked like a third for a minute. And so I just, and then we had another 30, 45 minutes we had to be in there. And, so she got all the measurements and everything. And I tell you what, you just, you don't know. You don't know. Here's a quick fact for you. Did you know that a majority of multiples are from women who are over 35? As women get past that point, they're more than likely than people who are not to have multiples.